Hello, everyone. Welcome to Barca News. It is August 14th, 2023, and Joao Cancelo is very close to joining Barcelona. And with that, it facilitate the arrival of Joao Felix. How is that going to happen? I got all the details for you. And also, it seems that Lenglet is very close to joining a Saudi club. We have a lot to discuss. So let's dive right in. Welcome everybody to Barca News' live stream, which is on every Mondays and Wednesdays at 7:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Today I scheduled it at 7:30 because I had to work late, but nonetheless I'm here. I'm ready to give you all the news. There's also the post-match analysis live streams, not to be confused with those. Those will be after each match ends. Of course, as long as the match is on a weekend, because if it's during the week, can't do it because I will be at work. Now, as usual, we'll do a segment of news, then we'll hit the chat section to get a discussion going, answer any questions. For those of you who'll be watching the live stream when it ends, I'll put timestamps in the description, chapters in the timeline so you can skip through. And last but not least, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. If you are looking for any Barcelona jerseys or merchandise, hit the kickback. And if you are looking to place any sports bet, make sure you hit to bet us. They're currently running a promotion of 125%, which means if you deposit, let's say $100, you get $25 for free to place towards your bet. Both links for Kitback and for Bet Us are down below in a description. Now, having said all of that, let's start with the news because after yesterday's horrendous match where Barcelona drew 0-0 against Getafe, Xavi Hernandez completely roasted or went off on the referees in the post-match press conference. As you know, it was a really bad match as far as refereeing. We saw Rafinha get a red card, deservedly so. But what was confusing was that Xavi also got a red card. And of course, Xavi was very, very upset about the referee. Now, he had a very interesting statement that he made in the post-match press conference, which I'm going to go over it section by section, kind of try to dilute it down or kind of analyze each section. But let's start with the first part of his statement because Xavi said, if this match is La Liga's product, it's an absolute embarrassment. I understand why people don't watch our football. Right away, very strong statement by Xavi saying that La Liga's product is an embarrassment and that's why people are not watching La Liga. He's not wrong. La Liga has been consistently losing viewership year after year. Used to be the best league in the world, then the Premier League surpassed it, then it was the second best league in the world, then it got surpassed by the Bundesliga out of all the leagues, and now La Liga are sitting third, continuing to lose viewership, and yesterday's match was a clear indication of why that's happening, because the refereeing was absolutely embarrassing. We had Getafe under Bordalas, who had no plan to play football. Their only plan was to destroy and disrupt football with their constant fouls, elbows flying high all the time. There were several times where they grabbed Lewandowski by the neck, slammed him against the ground. There was that really strong elbow against Gundogan, who completely knocked him out of the air out of his lungs. And even Rafinha, who I said he deservedly got the red card. Before he got the red card, the player that he actually hit had hit him in the mouth and made him bleed. It was a WWE match with Getafe's men just constantly fouling Barcelona players. And that continued to happen for one reason and one reason only, and it's because the referee allowed it. And with the two red cards against Barcelona, against Rafinha and Xavi, what the referee was saying is that it's okay, that if you want to, you want to come out, hit players, disrupt football, try to destroy football, you will be rewarded. But if you just try to play football and create plays or whatever it may be, then you will be penalized, because that's exactly what he did. He penalized Barcelona and he rewarded Getafe for the disgusting display of football that they did. Now, don't get confused about what I'm trying to say. I'm not complaining about Getafe's style of play with defending with 20 players in the box. Every coach has every right to play whatever formation they want. If they want to park the bus and have 10 center backs, that's fine. That's on them. But that's not what I'm complaining about. I'm complaining about the disgusting display by Bordalas' 11 thugs on the field, because they weren't players. Those were thugs who were just out there to hurt players. And instead of being punished by the referee, they were rewarded by it, which is absolutely unacceptable. And I can 100% understand why Xavi was completely furious, because what we saw was disgusting, unacceptable, and there's no doubt in my mind, or you could see why La Liga is losing viewership, because that's the kind of circus that that Tebas is managing. Now, the second segment the second part of Xavi's statement, he said the handball given to Gabi was invented. They told us in a meeting that only very clear handballs would be given, and Gabi's wasn't one, yet they gave it anyway. He told us they would use VAR less, and I don't know if VAR is there to help or not. I don't see the point of that meeting. Now, two parts of this part of the statement of Xavi. Very interesting, by the way. The first part, he says the handball given to Gavi was invented. Now, Xavi Hernandez used this phrase on purpose. It was calculated by him. And the reason why is because last season, Ancelotti said in a press conference that the penalty that had been called against Real Madrid was invented. And despite the outrage in the media, other players, coaches, La Liga didn't do anything as far as punishing Ancelotti, but yet they had punished other players and other coaches in the past for saying similar things, but they didn't do anything to Ancelotti when he said that the penalty kick was invented. So Xavi Hernandez using that phrase on purpose, saying the handball given to Gavi was invented. He specifically used those exact same words as Ancelotti to see what will La Liga do. And there's already talk, by the way, that Xavi could get a 2-match suspension for that statement, which if it does happen, I think it will be an absolute scandal, because to use the same exact words as a Real Madrid coach and to get punished for it, but yet the Real Madrid coach walks scot-free, that could only expose more of how disgusting and how mediocre refereeing is in the Spanish league. Now, another thing about Gabi's handball, Xavi talking about a meeting. If you don't know what he was referring to, before every season starts, all the coaches of all the first division team, they meet with all the referees that will be refereeing in the first division, and the referees explain to everybody what the rules are going to be like, if there's any change in rules, how things are going to be applied, just so everybody can be on the same page. And during this meeting, the referees made it very clear that handballs during this season are only going to be given if they are completely clear. And I'm sorry, but I saw the replay against Gavi, and that handball was not clear, but yet they gave it. Another thing, speaking of that meeting, this is the second part of the statement, but Xavi says they told us they would use VAR less, and I don't know if VAR is there to help or not. Now, pay attention to this statement, very important, but it's now being revealed that during that meeting between the referees and all the coaches, Ancelotti raised a concern where he said that La Liga's referees should use VAR less because last season it did not turn out well with the use of VAR. I'll repeat that. Ancelotti said out loud in the meeting that the referees should use VAR less because last season it didn't turn out as planned. Now, of course, he would say that there were a lot of goals last season that were denied to Real Madrid. And of course, Real Madrid did lose La Liga. In fact, they didn't win anything except Copa del Rey. But here's the worst part, because after Ancelotti said that, the president of the committee of referees agreed with him and said that, yes, referees will be instructed to use VAR less during this season. Now, Xavi Hernandez, during that same meeting, he raised his hand and he said, I don't understand why you want to use the VAR less. If anything, we should use it better, but not less. Why else is VAR there? And the president of the committee's referee response to Xavi was like, no, we agree with Ancelotti and we're going to go with what Ancelotti is suggesting, which is to use the VAR less. Guys, this is, and excuse me for cursing, this is fucking mind-blowing that this could happen in what's supposed to be one of the best leagues in the world. They've spent millions and millions of euros implementing this VAR technology, which is there to correct human errors, which happen all the time, to make the sport better. And yet, here are the referees at the suggestion of Carlo Ancelotti, saying, you know what? I know we spent all this money on this new system to correct errors, but we're not going to use it. Then why the hell did you invest all that money into the VAR system if you're not even going to use it because Real Madrid's coach does not like when referees use the VAR? Guys, this is fucking mind-blowing. I can't believe that I'm even telling you this because we're talking about La Liga here. We're not talking about, I don't know, some league in fuck nowhere. And this is what's happening in front of our eyes and under our noses. And it's being allowed to happen. This is how corrupt and disgusting refereeing is in La Liga. Now, to continue with Xavi's statement, he said, I was sent off for telling the referee they were allowing Getafe to get away with a lot of fouls and not doing the same for us. We had a meeting with the referees, and the first change they said they would make is that they would understand the coaches more and attention would feel on the pitch. But that is not what happened, and I don't understand it. So another thing that was discussed during the meeting, the referee said that they would allow more dialogue between coaches and the referees. And yet, as soon as Xavi Hernandez complained, he gets a straight red. Not a yellow, not a warning, straight red for complaining about a foul who should have been a red card, by the way, because Abde was running with the ball towards the goal and he was fouled. And that was a clear denial of an opportunity of goal and should have been a red card for the Getafe player. But instead, Xavi gets the red card for complaining. But when Rafinha makes his stupid mistake, and deservedly so gets the red card, you see Bordalas, Getafe's coach, run into the field with all his band of thugs. All those players are around him, all running around the field, screaming like crazy, waving their hands, going against the fourth referee, and nothing happens. But Xavi Hernandez raises his hands and says, why are you not giving us fouls? And he gets a straight red card. So you can see why Xavi Hernandez is so upset. And Bordalas, of course, responded saying that Xavi, likes to use excuses. And don't get me wrong, the team didn't do its job, and the team should have done better and won. And the lineup wasn't correct either. Barcelona should have played at least with two wingers. Well, not at least with two wingers. And if you want to use four midfielders, Xavi could have used three center backs, and it would have been more than enough to defend. You could have had a 3-4-3 formation. Had to play a lot more aggressive against a team that he knew was going to park the bus, but instead he played kind of a safe match, which you can't do against low block teams. You do that against teams like Real Madrid, Champions League teams, who you have to play safe against them because they might score on you. But against a team like Getafe, he should have been a lot more aggressive, and the lineup and the team did not do its job. But nonetheless, you could see why Xavi Hernandez is upset about the referees, and you should be too, because what's happening is absolutely disgusting. Now, I'll end with the last statement of Xavi that said the game got away from the referees' hands. They allowed too much of this. If this is the product we are selling as a league, it's not normal. It's an accumulation of things. They allow our rivals to do anything they want, and everything we do is a foul. 100% correct. But I won't keep talking about it because I'm only going to make myself more and more angry. So let's see what you guys are saying, and then we'll talk about Neymar. I know you guys are probably sick and tired of hearing about Neymar, but I think this will probably be the last time we'll talk about it. Okay, let's see what you guys are saying. All right. Moose says, hey, Mo, doing the dishes while watching. You're a good man, Moose. I hope you're doing a good job and you're not too distracted with the live stream and then leaving, dried food on your dishes. Barcelona FC says, what do you think about Neymar? I will talk about Neymar a little bit. So stay tuned. Ra says, can we switch Rafinha for Felix or sell him to City as an exchange for Silva or Cancelo? Rafinha is no good. I agree that Rafinha is no good. I wouldn't want to switch him out for Joao Felix because we would be giving him to a direct competitor. We got to stop doing that. We got to adopt more the policies of other clubs like Atletico Madrid who try not to sell players to other clubs in La Liga. I would prefer to sell them to the Premier League. I don't know if Manchester City would want him. I don't think Pep Guardiola is dumb enough to want someone like Rafinha. But Xavi wants him, so I don't see him going anywhere. Okay, one more. All right, Chuchu made it. I hope you drove safely and didn't run over anyone on your way home. Issa says, hey Mo, I'm watching live from Sierra Leone, West Africa. I need a gift from you. I'll give you my knowledge of Barcelona. All right. So let's get back to the news, because talking about the referees went a little bit longer than expected. I apologize for that. But let's talk about Neymar, because Neymar. Oh, real quick, by the way, another thing about the referees, they implemented this rule where they supposedly, they're going to make up for all the time lost on the field. And that's why you saw 10 extra minutes after the first half, and 10 ended up being 15 minutes after the second half. But here's an interesting statistic that I saw on social media, and it said that yesterday there were 109 minutes played, and only 57 of those 109 minutes was the ball actually in play. So only 50% of the time spent yesterday's match was the ball in play, which only highlights more the disgusting display by Getafe. Now, during the second half, after the second half ended, 15 minutes were given of extra time, and out of those 15 minutes, only 5 minutes was the ball actually in play. With the other 10 minutes, Getafe is just committing fouls and wasting time. So well done, referees of La Liga. Well done, Tebas. You guys are true clowns, and all you're doing is ruining the Spanish league. Okay, now let's talk about Neymar. Oh my God, I feel a sneeze coming. Sorry, guys. I got my allergies again. Whew, okay, it went away. Sorry about that. Okay, Neymar. It seems like Neymar has agreed to join Al-Hilal, and he's going to be signing for 3 seasons. They're going to pay him around 100 million euros per season. I saw some crazy add-ons on his contract where he's going to get, I think, something like 500,000 for every match he wins, like 80,000 euros for every time he mentions Saudi Arabia on his social media. Crazy, crazy contract. And the only reason I mention this, because obviously this completely closes the door to Barcelona signing Neymar. I told you about how Laporta and his board were considering signing Neymar, so he can kind of give him a marketing boost and increase ticket sales in the Olympic Stadium. But the only way, or the kind of what needed to be done in order for this move to happen, is for Xavi to take Neymar out of PSG for free, because Barcelona knew they couldn't afford this transfer. So the only way was if he arrived for free, and Xavi, which is Neymar's agent, promised Laporta that he would do his best to make this happen. And that's when the talk started about Laporta considering signing him, because before Xavi's promise to bring Neymar for free, Laporta had said absolutely not, we're not signing Neymar. But since Xavi promised to bring him for free, Laporta said, well, we got nothing but to gain from this, because if he comes for free, you don't spend a single dime, but you do end up making a lot of money in revenues and marketing and sponsorship, etc. But of course, that never happened. Xavi did not fulfill his promise, because it looks like Al-Hilal have offered PSG a little over 100 million euros for the Brazilian player. So he will be joining Al-Hilal. And of course, PSG, there's no way they're going to say no to 100 million just so they can give us their player for free. That wasn't going to happen. So Neymar not coming. Xavi was unable to fulfill his promise to bring him for free. And I've already started to see people talking about how Al-Hilal are going to loan us Neymar for a season. Let's be real, guys. That's not going to happen. Al-Hilal did not just spend over 100 million euros to pay PSG to sign his Neymar. I'm sure they've offered Neymar and his dad all kinds of signing bonuses. And then they're going to pay his salary worth 100 million euros. For what? So they can be like, oh, here, have him for free, guys. Have fun. Let's be real. That's not going to happen either. So the door, I think, to Neymar is closed. I'm relieved, because for a minute, it looked like he was really going to come. I was very nervous about that. It's not happening. Thank God. Thank you, Saudi Arabia. Thank you, Al-Hilal, for preventing this, because I think it would have been an absolute disaster, and we would have been pulling our hairs as soon as he would have came, because I have no doubts after the second week he would have already been injured, or at least faking an injury, because he would have been off in the city of Barcelona partying, and you can only imagine all the problems he would have caused in the locker room. So Neymar not happening, but someone who will be happening is Joao Cancelo, and I will talk about him next. But let's head back to the comment section and see what you guys are saying. Curtis says they all know what they are doing in Spain. It's all a plan. We have more coming. Barcelona has to fight for every game. Yes, unfortunately, we saw a lot of that last season, and it looks like we're going to see a lot of it this season again. Moose says, a lot of fans are going too far with their comments about Xavi. Criticism is one thing, but they are going way beyond that. Where's the support for the man that brought back the league to us? Excellent point. I've said it many times before. Unfortunately, Barcelona fans are very toxic. I think they got spoiled with the Messi era, the Pep Guardiola era, the Luis Enrique era, and now they think that winning trebles and sextuples is something you could do in your sleep, and they don't realize the reality that was something very, very exceptional, very, very special that Barcelona was able to achieve. And it only happens very rare. There's a reason why when Barcelona won the treble, they were the first, or was it treble or the sextuple? I think it was the treble, was the first club to do it in like, I don't know how many decades. And there's the reason Barcelona is the only club to be able to do it, I think with Bayern Munich now, to win it twice, because in over 100 years of football, because it's not an easy thing. So don't get used to Barcelona winning every single match and winning it 5-6-0. That was a very, very exceptional time in the history of Barcelona, and we're probably not going to see that for many more decades to come. But unfortunately, people got used to that, and if nothing comes close to that, they want heads to roll, fire the coach, fire the players, fire everybody, and that's not productive. Okay, Dark Knight says, we have to realize that La Liga seems to be pro Real Madrid. Therefore, Barca has to be very good because they will likely be playing against the referees. Definitely a lot of favoritism to Real Madrid, but I think it's mostly just how mediocre the referees are. That's another thing. And I'm sorry, but La Liga is never going to be the best league. They're never going to be the Premier League if they can't even fix their referee. Okay, one more, and then we'll talk about Joao. I don't think that's how you say it, but I just wanted to say it that way. Joao Cancelo. All right, Carlos says, I actually think Rafinha was doing good at the match until he lost his mind, which I think was wrong of him. I know he gets a lot of hate, but this match, he was actually doing better. I mean, he had one successful dribble that he made, one in a century that he makes. And then he had that chance where Koundé passed him an excellent ball into the box. He brings it down with his chest, and he obviously, his shot gets blocked. And then he looks at Koundé, and he gets all mad and frustrated. I don't know why Koundé made him a perfect pass, but yeah, he gets mad at his teammate for missing his shot. That just shows you that mentally, I've always criticized Rafinha skill-wise. I always say he doesn't have the level to be a Barcelona player. But yesterday's match showed me that he also doesn't have the mental level to be a Barcelona player. And I think we have been seeing that for a while, all his outbursts, like a petulant kid whenever Xavi would sub him, kicking the water cooler, kicking the bench, starting throwing his shoes, acting like a petulant child. And I mean, you're a professional at one of the biggest and best clubs in the world. Act like it. And if anything, yesterday showed us that Rafinha doesn't have the mental or the physical capacity to be a Barca player. Anyways, let's talk about Joao Cancelo, because it's very, very close to happening, guys. Barcelona have reached a pre-agreement with the player. So the player has agreed to come to Barcelona. The player has agreed to reduce his salary to come to Barcelona. So the agreement is complete with the player. Obviously, the second part is to reach an agreement with Manchester City. And Manchester City have already given the green light for Joao Cancelo to join Barcelona on loan. The only thing that's left to be agreed upon is that option to buy. Manchester City want an obligation to buy worth 50 million euros because they don't want to have to deal with Joao Cancelo again next summer. And Barcelona want an option to buy for 40 mil. So Manchester City obligation to buy for 50. Barcelona want an option to buy for 40. Those are the only thing that's left to be negotiated. Otherwise, everything else is agreed upon. Joao Cancelo has agreed to come. Manchester City have agreed to loan the player. Jorge Mendes is working really hard to make this deal go through. So we're very, very, very close. We're at 95%. We're very close to the finish line. So Joao Cancelo will become a Barcelona player unless something crazy happens, which, of course, I never rule out. Football markets are crazy, but very, very high chance that Joao Cancelo will become a Barcelona player. Now, as I said in the headline and as I said at the beginning of the video, the arrival of Joao Cancelo could facilitate the signing of Joao Felix. How? I'll tell you after we go through the comments and see what you guys are saying. Okay, let's see. Blaurana says, Blaurana Kule, all this hate towards Rafinha, and he was the only one consistently getting into the 18 and 6-yard box. I mean, he did it twice. Let's not pretend he was doing so much. Mark says, Rafinha is one of the worst Brazilian attackers to ever play for Barcelona. I don't know if one of the worst, because we've had some bad ones. We had, what was that guy's name? The bald one. He was only here for a season. Malcolm was pretty bad. Arthur, who could not finish a full game because he would get tired. We've had some bad ones, but yeah, Rafinha's definitely not great. Sunder says, will Felix come to Barca? If he come, who will leave? I'll talk about it next. Let's see what else. CJVP says Barcelona fans are very toxic. Says the toxic Barcelona fan who despises Rafinha. I don't despise Rafinha. I simply just give my opinion about his performance. That's all. If you consider that toxic, I'm sorry. You don't have to watch. Mark says we had Romario, Ronaldo, Ronaldinho, Rivaldo, and Neymar put on our shirt. Rafinha is a downgrade for the first time in history. RM have the better Real Madrid have the better Brazilian. I agree. I mean, that's another thing. People like to always defend Rafinha. Oh, he scored 7 goals. Like, oh my God, I'm supposed to be impressed by 7 goals. We paid 60 million euros for this guy, and I'm supposed to be impressed because he scored 7 goals. The same amount of goals that Ansu scored, playing a fraction of the time. But here's the thing. When you look at big teams and who they have on their wings, and first of all, let's look at our own team. Who did we have on the wing before Rafinha? We had Messi. Now, of course, Messi is one of a one-in-a-time player. He comes only once in a generation. But you really think Rafinha is even close or to anything that Messi used to do in that position? Like, you're impressed? Like, you look at what Messi used to do and what Rafinha does, and you tell me you're impressed with Rafinha? And I'm not telling you Rafinha has to be Messi. Absolutely not. Nobody's Messi. Nobody will be Messi for a very, very long time. But are you serious? You're telling me you're impressed with what Rafinha does? And okay, let's not talk about Messi. Let's talk about Real Madrid. Vinicius Jr., that would be the counterpart of Rafinha. You're telling me when you compare Rafinha to Vinicius Jr., who cost less than Rafinha, who's much younger than Rafinha, so he's not even in his prime yet. Rafinha is. And you tell me you're impressed with what Rafinha does when you compare him to Vini? For 60 million euros? And I'm the toxic one? When you look at Lamine Yamal, a 16-year-old kid, he's a child. He never played first division football in his life. This is the first time he's doing it. And when you compare Rafinha to Lamine Yamal, you're telling me you're impressed with what Rafinha does for 60 million euros? Come on, guys. It's okay to support our players and to encourage them, but come on, guys. Let's be real here. You're seriously impressed with what Rafinha does? All right. Let's talk about Joao Felix, because the arrival of Joao Cancelo could facilitate his signing. Why? Let's backtrack a little bit. I told you about Laporta and his board wanted to make a high-profile signing during this summer transfer market because they need to increase the marketing. They need to increase ticket sales in order to drive revenue up. Now, a lot of people said in the comment section, they kind of misunderstood what I meant by high-profile. They were like, oh, well, he's not a big star. When I say high-profile, I say from the marketing standpoint. Joao Felix, like Neymar, has a lot of marketing deals, a lot of sponsorship deals. That's what I mean when I say high profile. I'm not saying that we're signing the next Messi. I mean, from the marketing perspective, Joao Felix is someone who drives a lot of marketing muscle, if you may. So Laporta and his board wanted to sign either Neymar or Joao Felix because they wanted a high profile signing. Obviously, Neymar is at the question, so he will be going to Al-Hilal. So the other option is Joao Felix. But we still have the Xavi obstacle. Xavi did not want Neymar and does not want Felix. He didn't want Neymar because he considered him as a toxic player, and he doesn't want Joao Felix because Xavi would prefer a different profile of a player. But There's a lot of rumors saying that Xavi Hernandez, when Laporta and the board of directors continue to try to convince him, like, we need Neymar, we need Felix, we need Neymar, we need Felix, and Xavi was hesitant, he eventually said, well, at least if you bring me Joao Cancelo, which is his request, then maybe I'll look the other way and I'll let you guys sign Neymar or Joao Felix. So it looks like Cancelo is coming, almost 98% done. And since he does come and Xavi gets his request of signing Cancelo, then he might be a lot easier to convince to allow Barcelona to sign Joao Felix. So that's how the arrival of Cancelo will facilitate the arrival of Felix or Joao Felix, however you say it, because Laporta would be able to convince him to sign him. Now, of course, it doesn't mean that we will sign him tomorrow. There's still a lot of obstacles ahead. Atletico Madrid, they're looking to cash in on him. They're not looking to give him away for free. So Barcelona are going to have to negotiate. Of course, Barcelona would only be able to sign him on loan or to sign him if he rescinds his contract, which is extremely highly unlikely that Atletico Madrid will try to rescind the contract of Joao Felix. Now, what's one thing that is playing in our favor is that Joao Felix has said to Atletico Madrid that he only wants to leave to Barcelona. Atletico Madrid want to get rid of him because El Cholo Simeone does not want Felix on his team. So Atletico Madrid have to get rid of him. And since he's insisted on Barcelona, that forces Atletico Madrid to negotiate with Barcelona, which then forces them to be more acceptable or amenable to Barcelona's request. So that's one thing playing in our favor. Again, it doesn't mean we're going to sign Joao Felix for sure, but that does play in our favor. Barcelona will be engaging Atletico Madrid in the upcoming days to see what's going on, to see if this is possible. And Joao Felix has communicated to Barcelona through his agent, Jorge Mendes, that he is willing to wait until the final days of the market. All right. So let's talk, see what you guys are saying, and then we'll end with the last bit of news, which is about Clement Lenglet. Okay. Chicken Tajin says, I tried to have Rafinha's back, but the guy gotta go. There are better options out there. Agreed. There's better options in Barcelona. Let's see. What else? King City says, on the ball, Rafinha was mad because Lewy didn't make the run. Are you talking about the red card? I think the red card was because that same player that he had hit him like a few minutes before. I forgot the player's name, but he actually elbowed Rafinha in the face and made him even bleed a little bit. And I think that's why Rafinha was mad. Not because, if Lewandowski didn't make the run, why would you hit the opposing team's player? You would hit Lewandowski for not making the run. Carlos says, is it his fault that we pay so much for Rafinha? If we paid 10 million, would he be doing good? Or if he was for free, would he still get hate? It's not his fault that we paid that much, but it is his fault that he underperforms. So, what can I say? Chuchu says, Barca fans are funny, comparing Felix to Fati. Felix is by far a better player than Fati and Ferran. If it was pre-injury Fati, I don't know. I don't know if that statement holds. But now, I think so. Yeah, for sure. Don't get me wrong. Felix is an excellent, excellent player. But that's a hard... Obviously, way better than Ferran. There's no doubt about that. But I don't know about Fati because, man, Fati gets overlooked a lot because ever since his injuries, obviously, he hasn't been performing like he was. And a lot of people forget what he used to do before his injuries. And Ansu Fati he's kind of like a Lamine Yamal. Maybe not as gifted as Lamine, but he's one of those players that are extremely gifted and that are very hard to come by. But unfortunately, his injuries have hindered him. And a lot of people forget what he used to do before his injuries. But Ansu was an absolute beast before his injuries. Brad says, I think Felix, Fati, and Ferran have all underperformed. We just need one to live up to their true form. Agreed. They've all underperformed. Well, Fati, after his injuries, Ferran, I don't know what's his deal. I don't know if he maybe never was that good or maybe the pressure was too much. But with Felix, his underperformance mostly has to do with Atletico Madrid's system. Joao Felix is not a player fit for Atletico Madrid's system. I don't know why they signed him. I think they They were so happy with all the money we paid them for Griezmann, and they were looking to spend it on someone, and they spend it on Felix. It was a dumb move on both of their ends. It was a dumb move on Atletico Madrid's end to sign a player like that who doesn't fit their system. And the same was a dumb move on Felix's part, agreeing to go to a team where he wouldn't succeed because the system just does not fit him. Even Messi would have done bad at Atletico Madrid because, it's a defensive, aggressive team that just parks the bus and shoot long balls and hope for the counterattacks. And that's not Felix's style. Felix is more built for a team like Barca, a team with high possession, but not for Atletico. Anyways, let's get back to the news and then we'll talk more. I want to finish the news and then we'll have a few more minutes to keep the discussion going. But let's talk about Clement Lenglet because it looks like he's very close to joining the Saudi club Al-Nassr, which is the club where Penaldo plays. Now, Lenglet obviously has a personal agreement with Tottenham Hotspur. He's rejected offers from all over Europe. He's even rejected Al-Nassr's offer because he wants to go to Tottenham Hotspur. But of course, Tottenham Hotspur were not making any serious offers for him. They were only offering 5 million euros for Barcelona, and Barcelona only wanted 15 million, so not even close. Now, I told you I think it was yesterday's video or the day before that Tottenham Hotspur were kind of waiting on sealing an exit so they can have the cash to buy Lenglet, and they did offloaded Harry Kane to Bayern Munich, and with that cash, they were expected to make a move for Lenglet, and they haven't increased their offer. So now Clement Lenglet is wondering, does Tottenham Hotspur are even serious about signing me, which has opened his options a little bit more. Now, Al-Nassr, who Lenglet had originally rejected because he didn't want to go to Saudi, it seems like they came back and they upped their offer and put more money on the table for the player. And since Lenglet is seeing that Tottenham Hotspur are not getting serious about his signing, he's now very much open to joining Al-Nassr. And it's reported that his agent is already negotiating with Al-Nassr. And it looks like he is very, very close to saying yes and making a move to Saudi because they're offering him a lot of money, probably more money than any European club could offer him. And since Tottenham Hotspur are not making a move for him, he's really considering joining Saudi. Now, we'll have to see whether Tottenham Hotspur, all of a sudden, with this pressure from Saudi, if they come and they up the offer, we'll have to wait and see. But if not, it looks like Clement Lenglet will be heading to Saudi Arabia. And, of course, great news for Barcelona. Not only do we get the transfer fee, whatever it's going to be, but we're also going to remove one of the highest salaries on the squad currently. Yes, guys, that's what the kind of idiotic crap that Bartomeu used to do, where you have Clement Lenglet, guys. Clement Lenglet is one of the highest earners in Barcelona. Higher than Araujo, higher than Koundé, higher than Christensen, higher than Lewandowski. Can you imagine a world where Clement Lenglet earns more than Lewandowski? Thanks a lot, Bartomeu. Okay, we have a few more minutes, so let's get the discussion going. I see 220 people watching, but only 51 likes. Let's hit that like button and get it going. All right. Mustafa says, I bet Barca have forgotten when Suarez went to Atletico Madrid. What had happened? Now is Ansu Fati. There's no truth to the rumors that Ansu's going to Atletico. I think that's the last thing on Barcelona's mind. There is a consideration of offloading him, but it wouldn't be to Atletico. If anything, it would be to a team in the Premier League. Brad says, Lenglet is a good player for a second-tier European team. I don't want to see all these younger players go to Saudi where careers go to die. I agree. I'm kind of bummed about... I understand when older players like Ronaldo and Firmino and Conte, all those guys, yeah, they're older. Nobody's going to pay him the money that Saudi's offering. But when I see people like, Lenglet, even Ruben Neves, who's 26, yeah, he might not be a great player, but when I see all these younger players just killing their careers for money, I think it's sad. But, that's how it is. Money talks. Okay, Ross says, Suarez was a king before he went there already. Well, yeah, that's another thing. When Suarez went to Atletico, he was finished. So it wasn't a big loss for Barcelona. But to sell off Ansu, who's only 20 years old, and he only, he has plenty of room to grow and get better and live up to the expectations we had of him before his injuries. You know, that would be a dumb move to send him to Atletico de Madrid. Let's see. Moose says, I would give Rafinha the season to show his worth because he was good in some ways for us. It's just that he can't do 1v1, but he can be useful for the team. I mean, look, if Rafinha can explode and completely prove me wrong, I would be so happy. Like I've said before, I don't care about being right. If a player proves me wrong, hell yeah. I mean, I want all the players that I say are bad to prove me wrong, whether it's Ferran or Rafinha or whoever. Please prove me wrong, because if you prove me wrong, that means you're doing well. If you're doing well, that means the whole team is doing well. So if Rafinha can prove me wrong, I'll be the happiest man. But I just don't see it. I just don't see it. And you say he's not good for 1v1, but that's exactly what a Barcelona is supposed to do. So if he can't do what a Barcelona winger is supposed to do, then what's the point? It's kind of like saying, yeah, that goalie's really good, but, you know, he's just bad at stopping shots. then what's the point of having him, right? But again, I really wish he proves me wrong. But, you know, we paid 60 million euros for this guy. You know, he was supposed to be a difference maker, and he's not. He's not. When he steps on the field, nothing changes. When Lamine Yamal stepped on the field, maybe not the match against Getafe, but the match against Tottenham Hotspur, when Lamine Yamal stepped on the field, things completely changed. We went from losing 2-1 to winning 4-2, 3 goals in a matter of, 10 minutes or something. And he's a child. That's the kind of player that you spend 60 million euros on. It's a player where your team is not performing. Maybe you're losing. Maybe you're drawn. He steps on the field and boom, things change. Things start to work, and you win, or you come from behind, or whatever. That's the kind of player you spend 60 million euros on. Not a player who just runs with the ball as soon as he sees a defender, stops and makes a side pass or a back pass or sends some stupid cross into the box. That's not what 60 million euros should look like. Okay, one more and then we'll wrap it up. Evan says, I'm from Sweden and I have to say I love your channel. There's not many Barcelona channels that are so consistent as you and have so authentic news. Very fun to watch. Keep on. Thank you, Evans, for your kind words, and thank you for watching all the way from Sweden, who I hope one day to be able to visit, not during the winter, during the summer, because I hear it does get pretty cold. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. That's all the news for today. And I will see you guys in tomorrow's video. Hopefully great news. Good morning or good night, wherever you guys are. And as always, always, no matter the ups or downs, no matter how much La Liga wants to make our life difficult, Visca Barça.